Previously on the Ladies from Lonesome. In Act 1, when we last saw the Ladies from Lonesome, these working girls had discarded their satin dresses for jeans, cowboy boots, and Stetsons to brave the Chisholm Trail. Ramrod Lily and drovers Rose, China, Bertha, and Reba endured a back-breaking journey together with their cook Jake, an old-timer who looks like Jack Elam and has seen it all. Two dust-covered cowboys looking for work, Ben Dunstan and his partner, Dusty Rhodes. The drive was fraught with danger from the elements, unruly steers, rustlers, and warring Comanche. Now, one night during festivities with a group of soldiers, China took a moonlight swim in the river with a young soldier. Both ended up dead from a Comanche war lance. And now, Act 2 of Burt Kennedy's The Ladies from Lonesome.
Shades of Red River as Jake lets out a yell, kicks off the wagon brake, and moves the chuck wagon out in a cloud of dust. Red River, the big red snakes its way along the floor of a vast valley, and as Ben had warned Lily, the rain has turned it into a raging river of swift running water. Cut to the herd. I don't hear. A swirling cloud of dust as the herd turns back on itself, refusing to move out into the roaring river. Lily and the others try in vain to haze the animals into the water. Only then do we see Jake's chuck wagon sits atop a nearby hill. The one called Rose is tying an empty water barrel to the tailgate. Jake and the newborn calves watch Rose in puzzled silence as she finishes tying on the barrel, then moves to yet another barrel, lashed to the wagon bed just behind the outside wheel. Checking the ropes, she moves around to another barrel, tied to the right side of the wagon, then swings up on the swingboard alongside a troubled Jake.
What the hell are you doing?
Getting the herd across the river.
The calves fight to keep their feet under them as Rose whips the lines out over the horses and the wagon takes off down the slant at a headlong run. Ben, Lily, and the others turn on the sound of the wagon to see the team plunge into the water and make for the far shore, the water barrels acting as floats to keep it from sinking. We stay with the wagon, intercutting as the team fights to keep their heads above water. All this to a roaring crescendo, and then the horses gain the far bank and struggle up out of the water. No sooner on dry land, the calves start bawling for their mothers on the far shore. We intercut between the bawling calves and their mothers, build it to a breaking point. Then, one by one, the cows move into the river and start to swim toward the calves. A chorus of mooing and bawling cows as we intercut the build for a wonderful moment. Then the cows reach the far shore and fight their way up onto the bank. No sooner on dry land, they surround the chuck wagon, turn, look back across the river, and begin to bellow. We let it build, and then a big bull hears the cows, turns and looks off across the river, a moment of decision for the bull. Then he answers the cows and heads for the river, followed by the remainder of the steers on the near shore. Next moment, the bull and the other boys are swimming toward the cows. Now Lily and the others work their horses into the river and follow the steers across the river. Rose and Jake are all smiles as they watch the crossing. If the music is any good at all, we can make people laugh and cry as we intercut between the calves, the cows, the bull, and the boys. Bring it to a crescendo. Then, as they are all safe ashore, we dissolve to night, cow camp, and a thunder as we hold the rain-drenched herd of cattle, then come slow around and search the soaking wet camp, ending up on Rose in under Jake's cook wagon. She has spread out her saddle gear and is bedding down for the night. A flash of lightning as we see Dusty crawling in under the wagon to get in out of the rain. As he gains Rose, we see that he carries a cup of coffee.
Coffee?
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, kind of cold.
Just so it's black.
Gotta hand it to you, Rose, getting that herd across that river. Yeah. We should be at the Railhead in 2-3 days, maybe. What then?
Draw my pay. and buy a train ticket.
Where to?
Don't matter.
Well, it does to me.
You're forgetting I'm married.
Well, your husband, why shouldn't I? That ticket, if it's a round trip, I'll be waiting at the end of the train station.
I like that.
Yeah. Who said there isn't time for romance on a cow drive?
Well, then what's that?
Dusty turns and looks off to sea. Ben has his slicker half around Lily as he leads her through the rain toward a campfire under a makeshift canvas shelter. We're in closer on Ben and Lily now as they sit beside the fire, Ben keeping his arm around Lily a bit longer than necessary.
I suppose you'll keep on going when we get to the Railhead, drift from one card game to another.
Well, you got a better idea?
I might have. I'll be needing a top hand. It'll take me 3 or 4 years to buy and build another herd, but...
Well, ours shouldn't be over by then. Your husband will be back.
I got that just before we pulled out.
I'm sorry. Shiloh.
They buried him there.
Nothing but rain for a long moment. Then night in the chuck wagon. Jake is bedded down for the night on the rough plank floor of the wagon, a 4-point trade blanket pulled up over his head. Nothing but the storm for a moment. Then a sound at the back of the wagon brings Jake's head from under the cover, and he looks off to see the one called Bertha climbing into the wagon. We get a shocked reaction from Jake, and then...
What do you think you're doing?
Crawling your tailgate to get out of the rain.
This ain't no hotel, you know.
I'm so clean through. You want me to catch my death of cold?
It ain't a cold you're fixing to catch. It's me.
All I want is to get out of the rain.
Or get under a cow.
You sure ain't very sociable, Jake.
I'm trying to get some sleep.
I will only stay until the rain lets up.
Don't you have any shame, Bertha? What'll the others think you and me wagoned up together? I got my reputation to think of, you know?
Bertha is not about to leave. Jake pulls the blanket over his head as we dissolve to cow camp morning. The storm is over. A clang of metal as Jake pounds on a battered frying pan, calling all to breakfast alongside a roaring cook fire.
Rise and shine, breakfast in the swamp.
Jake continues to bang the frying pan as we see Bertha and the other gals begin to drift into line to get their coffee, biscuits, and beans. Two-shot of Ben and Lily standing near the picket line.
We'll stay at the river for a day and then swing north to the Railhead. You ride point.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And Lily, what we were talking about last night, that job as your top hand, I think that'd make a big mistake.
Mistake?
Well, chances are if we were together all the time, I'd probably...
Well, probably what?
Before Ben can answer, a sudden scream from off turns them to see Bertha and Reba having a knockdown, drag-out fight near the cook fire. Haymakers and hair pulling as we intercut to build the battle. Ben and Lily trade a puzzled look and head for the fighters at a full run as they gain Jake near the cook wagon.
Ladies!
What's going on? What happened?
Reba accused Bertha of crawling my tailgate, and Bertha hit her.
Two gals are rolling in the dirt now.
How you like that? They're fighting over me.
And we cut to Bertha catches her breath as a pail of water is poured over her head. Reba gets the same.
Oh, ladies!
The fight is over. As the two water-soaked battlers struggle to their feet, we dissolve to Big Country Day. The herd is on the move again. Ben Ben rides point. Lily and the others haze the cattle from the flank and behind. Then comes the cook wagon. The one called Reba rides on the side of Jake's wagon, Bertha on the other. Jake, atop the spring seat, feels trapped between the lusty pair. Now he throws a troubled look from one to the other. Medium shot of Ben riding point and looking dead ahead when Lily spurs up along and the two horses fall into step together.
You'd probably what?
Make a fool of myself.
How's that?
Well, a fella I once knew. He didn't amount to much, drifted around mostly, but then one day he took a job punching cows for this woman. One thing led to another, and, well, next thing you know, he...
Well, you come to work for me, Ben Dunstan. I assure you one thing will not lead to another.
Well, that woman that he went to work for, she looked a lot like you, Lily. Not near as pretty, though. But her eyes didn't show deep blue like yours. And, well, I don't recollect her hair too well, but I know it didn't dance on her shoulders like yours does. And the way she walked, nothing like you. You move like you're all over alive.
You're right. You'd make a fool of yourself.
Lily swings her horse around and spurs back off toward the herd, leaving Ben with a strange look on his face. He's still looking off after Lily when Dusty brings his horse alongside and falls into step.
The lovers quarrel. Next thing you know, women will be fighting over you too.
Oh, you're so damn funny you should be on stage.
Yeah, well, not that one.
Only then does Ben look off to see a stagecoach, its driver and shotgun slumped over dead, and its 6-horse team in a terror-stricken gallop is heading straight for Ben and Dusty. Ben throws a look back off at the herd, as does Dusty, and realizing the runaway coach is about to plow smack into the cattle, they spur off in a sudden run to turn the thundering 6 up. Blazing action as Ben and Dusty gain the front runners, spin their horses and attempt to drag the wide-eyed animals to a stop. But they are too late, and we intercut to build the excitement and runaway horses with Ben and Dusty hanging on for dear life. They crash directly into the noisy herd, scattering and terrified cattle in all directions. Through a cloud of dust, we see the herd panic in their attempt to get out of the way of the onrushing stagecoach. What follows takes a day to write and 4 days to shoot. But when it is over, we have the herd stampeding with Lily and the others riding hell for leather to turn the cattle, the still noisy cattle, and Ben and Dusty clinging into the trembling and exhausted 6-team horses. High wild action as we intercut with stampeding cattle and riders. Bring it to a crescendo then. Ben and Dusty, having calmed the horses, move to the door of the stagecoach. Open the door and look inside. One man lies dead on the floor of the coach. Another sits calmly alongside him. The one sitting up is in his mid-30s. He wears sun-faded range clothes and a sheriff's badge. Only then do we realize that he is handcuffed to the dead man on the floor.
You all right?
Well, I am now.
What happened?
I was taking this one to stand trial in Abilene. Some of his friends stopped the coach, wanted to bust him loose. The driver made a run for it, and a lot of shooting.
During this, the sheriff has produced a key and unlocks the cuffs from the dead man. Now he straightens, rubbing his wrist.
Like as not, they would have strung him up anyways.
The sheriff is crawling out of the stagecoach as Lily roars on and drags her horse to a stop.
We turned him. Lost about 20 head, cost a day, but we'll hunt him down. What happened?
I'll let the liar here tell you.
Liar?
You weren't taking a prisoner to Abilene.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the dead man you were handcuffed to. You were in such a hurry to get the badge off him, you tore a hole in his vest. And he's wearing a gun belt. You're not.
That doesn't prove anything.
This does. I saw you when you took off the cuff keys out of that dead fella's pocket.
Oh, shit. You're a damn detective, huh?
I know there's 3 dead men on that coach.
I didn't kill him.
Didn't say you did. See, I believe that part about your friends trying to bust you loose. Believe it so much, I'm putting you on one of them harness horses and getting you the hell out of here. They came a-killing once. I figure they'll whittle again. You got enough trouble without that. Dusty, catch up one of them horses. You get on it.
Damn detective.
Ben watches him cross to mount.
I'll be telling the law what happened here when we get to the railhead.
If you get to the railhead.
There's no mistaking his meaning, and for a moment we think Ben is going to change his mind about letting him go. Then, without another word, the bad guy swings up on his horse around and heads off in the direction the stage had come. Ben, Dusty, and Lily watch in silence. We dissolve to Big Country Day. Rodeo time now as we intercut with Lily, Ben, and the others hunting down and roping strays. We now see Bertha bulldog a wild steer, twist his neck and throw him to the ground. We stay on the action and build excitement. Then, as Lily, Reba, Rose haze 10 head of cattle back into the herd, we dissolve to night cow camp. The drovers are gathered around a scattering of watchfires, leaning against their saddle gear and drinking coffee. The one called Reba is out with the herd riding Nighthawk. Now she starts playing her battered guitar and singing softly to the cattle. The faint sound of Reba singing comes across as Ben drifts through the cow camp. Now, as he gains Dusty, standing alongside Jake's cook wagon.
That liar fella, what did he mean if we got to the railway station?
Oh, he was just sore about getting caught.
Oh, well, that was really smart of you, Ben. Figuring out that he was a prisoner, not the sheriff.
Well, it was as plain as the ass on a goat.
Well, not to me. Hey, you got a brain, Ben, except when it comes to women.
What does that mean?
Lily, she told me about offering you the job at the top hand. You turned that down.
No, I just wasn't sure I could handle it.
A job or her? I admit it'd be hard, her owning the ranch, wearing the pants, and you all the time tried to get in them.
Is that all you ever think about, Dusty? Women?
Oh, not anymore. Just me and Rose.
You and Rose what?
Oh, we get to the railhead, I'm fixing to ask her to marry me.
Oh, my.
Wire wait.
Dusty and Ben turn to see Jake on the wagon seat above them.
I'm not only a cook, I'm a preacher.
Whoa!
Had me the biggest flock in Crockett County. I'd be there now if it hadn't been for the whiskey. I went to drinking on baptizing day. Staggered out into the river and drowned a fella. My congregation turned on me like a pack of wild dogs and ran me out of town. So I quit saving souls and started cooking. You go get Rose. I'll try to find my Bible and we'll get her done.
Well, no, not so fast, Jake. I can't ask her to marry me out here in the middle of nowhere. Spend honeymoon pushing cows.
Well, suit yourself. But I'm ready whenever you are.
You sure you were a preacher, Jake?
Hell yes. And if that son of a bitch could have held his breath 40 seconds longer, I'd be a bishop by now.
Jake is hunting for his Bible as we dissolve to Dead Town Day. A cloud of dust as we hold, looking off down a deserted, windswept street. At first, we think that we are on the main street of a typical cow town. Then, as we search the dead sidewalks, broken doors, and windows, we realize we are in a deserted ghost town. Only when the swirling dust begins to clear do we see Lily's cattle lined out 20 across being herded on the far end of town. Lily, Ben, Dusty, Rose, and the others have their heads lowered against the wind as they haze the cattle to the center of the dead town. then turn the leaders back into the herd, bringing the animals to a confused stop in the shelter of what's left of the false front buildings. Now Lily, Ben, and Dusty pull their horses to a stop in front of the battered building marked Saloon, swing down and cross for the front door. Interior saloon. Looking down from the second-floor landing, we see Lily, Ben, Dusty push their way through the bat-wing doors, work their way through a maze of broken chairs and tables to a long oak bar covered with broken beer mugs.
Ben, go tell Jake to broadside his wagon at the far end of the town. We'll bunch the cattle up in the street, stand out the storm.
Right.
Street, day. Looking off through a tattered curtain of the upstairs window across the street from the saloon, we see Ben come out of the bat wings and cross off toward Jake's wagon at the far end of town. As he gains the wagon, a hand reaches in and pulls the curtain aside slowly, and we dissolve to the saloon at night. In the flickering flame light of the number of candles scattered around the saloon, we see Ben, Dusty, Jake playing poker at a three-legged card table. Rose, Bertha, and the others spread blankets to bed down for the night. Now Lily drifts toward the battered bat wing, stops and stands looking off at the restless cattle milling around in the center of the street. She is still looking off when the faint sound of a train whistle drifts over from the distance. We catch a beginning smile in Lily's eyes, then intercut with the others for reactions as the whistle continues to blow over, ending on Ben at the card table.
How far away do you wonder that train is?
I can only hear for 10 miles. That puts us to the Railhead by noon tomorrow with no trouble.
But we got trouble.
Ben turns to see Lily looking off. Getting up slowly, he drifts toward the bat wings. Next moment, he is standing alongside Lily, looking off across the street to see. Across the backs of the milling herd, we see the one called Sheriff, flanked by 6 tough-looking saddle tramps with Winchesters and low-slung gun belts. Lily knows trouble when she sees it.
What do they want?
They'll get around to it.
The sheriff motions to the others not to follow and begins to move across the street, pushing his way through the milling cattle as he goes. High tension as we move from the sheriff through the cattle, intercutting with Lily and Ben as he comes.
That's close enough.
The sheriff stops, stands his ground, silent.
Well, if it ain't the detective. Strange how big this country is. Keep running into each other.
Now Dusty and the others move into view.
Well, don't look so serious. Me and the boys just came in out of the wind like you did. And we got to talking about your cows and how much they were going to bring at the railhead, $10, maybe $15, $1,000. That's a lot of money. You going to put that in the bank, or you going to carry it back with you the way you came?
What do you think?
Well, you're right. It's none of my business.
The faint sound of the train whistle comes over. They listen, then...
So far and yet so near and yet so far.
Look, mister, whatever you got in mind, better forget it.
Well, you got us wrong. We're just passing through on our way to, well, yeah, anywhere but Abilene. There was a string us up if we ride in there again. That's the trouble with being an outlaw. You just ain't welcome anywhere.
That's right.
See what I mean? Well, we'll just stay on our side of the street, and you just stay on yours.
The sheriff turns and starts to make his way through the herd.
What do you think?
I think it could be a long way back to Lonesome.
One last wail of the train whistle as we dissolve to the railhead. Day. Black smoke pours from the diamond stack of a wood-burning locomotive standing motionless at the end of the track. We see Lily's cattle being herded into a maze of holding pens flanking the train, with its 10 cattle cars, 2 flat cars, and a faded red passenger car. There's a montage of cattle fighting to keep from being herded through the gates as we see a montage of motion and cows bellowing as they move up ramps into the cattle cars. Controlled confusion as we intercut to build the action. Then, after much dusty work, half the cows are aboard, and Lily rides up to the uniformed station man crossing from the direction of the locomotive.
Where can I find the cattle buyers?
Oh, well, you can't. They left 2 weeks ago.
There.
Well, with the war and all, there haven't been any herds coming in, and so they pulled out.
Well, what am I supposed to do with my cattle?
The only thing you can, ma'am. Finish loading them up on the train and take them to Junction City.
Close cuts, more motion as Lily and the others finish loading cows up the ramps of the cattle cars. And we cut to the Railhead day. The herd is loaded aboard the train as Jake's wagon anchored on the first flat car with all the saddle horses on the other. In among the horses, we see Lily, Ben, Dusty, and the others. Now the smoke from the locomotive drifts back over the cars as the train pulls itself together and begins to move out of the station. As the train whistle blows, we turn our attention to the one called Sheriff and his cutthroat sidekicks sit their horses on the outskirts of town watching the train pull out of the station.
According to the station master, they're going to get twice as much for that herd in Junction City. All we got to do is wait till they're headed back, jump the train, and ride away rich.
Greedy grins from the others as we dissolve to a passenger car, night, full shot. In the lone light of the train lantern, we see Ben open the iron door of a potbelly stove at the far end of the car and feed firewood into the flames. Now, in the flickering light of the fire, we see Dusty and Rose surrounded by Lily and the others. Now Reba begins to pick out the wedding march on her battered guitar as we see Jake push his way out the door of the conductor's department at the rear of the car. Jake is dressed in a long black coat and high white collar and carries a Bible. The strains of the wedding march continue now as a very serious Jake crosses up the aisle to Dusty and Rose. He opens the Bible and begins the ceremony.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here on this here train to splice together these two in holy matrimony. If there's anybody who can show reason why they should not be married, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. Dusty, you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, in sickness and in health, till death do you part?
I do.
And do you, Rose, do the same?
I do.
You may kiss the bride.
Wait. What about the ring, Jake?
They don't have one.
You can use mine.
Oh.
A tender moment as Lily takes off her wedding ring and hands it to Dusty.
Repeat after me. With this ring, I thee wed. I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Woo-hoo.
What God and Jake Jackson have joined together, let no man put asunder. Hallelujah.
More cheers and laughter as Dusty and Rose push their way through the throng to the door of the conductor's compartment. As they duck inside and close the door behind them, we see a makeshift sign reading, Bridal Suite. No sooner inside, we see Bertha throw her arms around a troubled Jake.
Anything for the bride? Bride's made.
Bertha plants a kiss on Jake that won't grow as we dissolve to a series of scenes. We see the train heading across the big country day and night, pulling into the stockyards in Junction City, offloading the cattle, cow buyers handing over money for the herd. Dissolve to the passenger coach. Day. Lily sits at a makeshift table in the center aisle near the back of the car. The table has a canvas bag of money on it from which Lily is paying off the drovers. Bertha, Reba, Rose, and the others are lined up waiting to be paid. Train. Day. Looking back high over the train, we see 3 hell-bent riders catching up to the front platform of the passenger coach, and 3 more on the other side of the coach. High, wild action as the riders on both sides of the train swing in alongside the moving coach. They all make a flying transfer to the platform, leaving a pickup man on either side to catch the loose horses. The riders are no sooner on board the train when we cut to the passenger coach. Lily has just finished paying off Rose.
Next.
Bertha steps to the table as a great crash of glass comes from behind. They all spin to see the one called Sheriff, and 3 of his bad guys kick their way through the broken door with guns drawn. Shock holds Lily and the others captive as the sheriff grabs hold of Rose and, using her as a shield, moves up the aisle toward Lily. A sudden blur of motion as Dusty goes for his gun.
Take your hands off!
A roar of gunfire cuts Dusty short. He takes one in the side and crashes back over the table at Lily's feet. Now Rose screams. Lily and the others freeze as the sheriff crosses to the fallen table, picks up the canvas money bag, and heads for the broken door, grabbing Rose away from the other guy as he goes. Now he spins in the doorway, once again using Rose as a shield.
Hold it! Anybody comes after us, she dies.
Out they go. While the other gunmen cover Ben and the others from the doorway, the pickup men bring the empty horses alongside the moving train. A moment later, all are mounted and roaring off away from the train at a dead run. Rose holds onto the sheriff with one hand and flails away at him with the other as they ride off together. Cut to passenger coach. Day, medium shot. Ben is tending to the wounded Dusty as the others gather around.
Well, if you have to have a hole in you, that's as good a place as any.
What do we got to do, Vance?
Go after him.
You heard what he said.
He's a liar, remember?
Before Dusty can object, Ben reaches up and pulls hard down on the emergency cord. A great grinding of metal and a shower of sparks as the driver wheels of the locomotive lock up and slide along the rails of the screaming. Halt. Flat car. Day. More screaming as horses snort and tuck under. Horse noises. Next moment, Ben, Lily, and the others are jumping their saddle animals off the flat car. Excitement mounts as we intercut with the riders, bring it to a crescendo, and then the last horse dives headlong off the car. The wounded Dusty stands alongside Jake and the cook wagon on the second flat car, watching Ben and the others take off after the bad guys at a hell for leather run. End of Act 2.